WILDR folks, if you find that your progress in the gym has plateaued or that your motivation has evaporated, then this might be the missing ingredient for you to make progress. I know what you're thinking. It's probably a piece of equipment that you need to buy or a new training plan that you have to follow. It's none of those things. In fact, it's a very simple concept and it's called a deload week. Now, planned easier weeks or rest weeks are something that high-end athletes use all the time. In my experience, recreational athletes also benefit from these deloaded or easier training blocks. So how does it work? By reducing the volume or intensity of your training every 4 to 12 weeks, you're gonna bounce back stronger from the work you've been doing. And when you're fully recovered, you're gonna be able to work harder in your next training block. Now, I know what you're thinking. If I do an easier week, doesn't that mean I'm going to get weaker? I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to fall out of the habit of going to the gym. And none of these things are true. What I've actually seen with clients and myself is that knowing that you have a lighter week coming up makes you more committed to the workouts that you do have. Now, there are 3 ways to deload your training. The first is to just simply reduce the amount of training you're doing in a week. So if normally you do 4 sets of back squats with 150 pounds on the barbell, you're gonna be doing 2 sets with the same weight. Your workout will likely take a little bit more than half the time it normally does, and there's something you can use to fill the rest of that time that I'll talk about in a minute. The second way to deload is to reduce the intensity of your lifting, but keep the same number of reps and sets. So instead of back squatting 150 pounds, you might reduce that to 100 pounds. And the third and final way is to kind of do a combination of the two. So maybe you do 3 sets, but you only have 1 set at your 150 pounds, and you reduce the weight of the last 2 sets of those back squats. But you know what doesn't count as a deload week? Sometimes I'll have clients not be able to get into the gym for a week or more because they get sick, or their work's really busy, or they have a family emergency. In my mind, this doesn't count as a deload week because your life stress is probably getting in the way of you recovering. You're still gonna benefit from a light week before you get back in to full-on training. With most of my clients and training plans, I tend to reduce volume of training while keeping intensity high. So that shorter workout day can be supplemented with more work on mobility, meditation, or rest and relaxation. What you'll find is you'll finish the week feeling like amped up and ready to dive back into a hard week of training. And what you'll find in the long run is you're gonna make more of each gym session because you know you have a rest coming up. So how often should you program a deload week for yourself? Well, it depends on how hard you're pushing. I personally will take the last week of each month and use that as a deload week. For me, it works out really well with my life and with my schedule. And so I choose to deload more frequently, knowing that I am making progress over the long term. Now, if you're training really intensely for a very specific goal and you know that you have the time and the resources to help yourself recover from each workout, you could push that. You could only take a deload week once every 8 to 12 weeks. But remember, we need to do something sustainable in the long term to make real progress. Now, I've got mobility sessions that are free for you to follow along with, and I'll link to those in the description below. But I'd love to hear if you already incorporate deload weeks into your training, and if not, how you are going to try. All right, I hope you have a wilder week, and we'll see you guys here next week.